When you first launch a Nearpod lesson, you will have the option to give your students the code, copy the link, or embed this on Schoology. On the left-hand side over here, you can see the teacher profile, and on the right-hand side of your screen, this is the student profile. You can see how they're different. So from the teacher profile, I can change my slides. I can view all of my slides down here. I can hide that. I can open up my whiteboard. I can annotate on screen. I can see how many participants have joined and whether they are active or inactive. So over here, this will turn red if the student is inactive or switches off of that tab. I can also remove the student or make this person a co-teacher. I can hide student names and answers. I can also turn on student paste for a certain number of slides if I would like. So I want to show you what happens when I move through slides here. You can see when I click on the teacher profile, it moves the student's screen as well. Now this is a collaborate board. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to respond to this by typing in down here. I can also add a GIF if I would like. And then I'm going to click on this little airplane over here. Now I have it set so that I have to approve all of my students' posts before they come up on the screen for the other students. So you'll see what it shows for the student is it says pending approval. Now over here on my teacher panel, I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so you can see. You'll see that there is a card on here that says pending approval. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this. And I want to see the pending because I want to make sure that I'm approving the correct thing. And I can see that the student's response is school appropriate. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this check mark. Now let's say that the student posted something that was not appropriate or did not address the question. And that student went ahead and submitted that. So if I click this X on here, so I'm not going to approve this, I'm going to click the X. You'll see that it deletes that card over there. You can also embed videos in the instructions for collaborate boards. And you have the option over here, whether you want the students to be able to see each other's names or hide each other's names. Typically when I'm doing this in a classroom, I disable that they can edit their responses because if I approve their post and then they edit it, I wouldn't be able to necessarily notice that or approve that. So I want to make sure that I turn that off if I'm moderating those posts. I do want to approve student posts and approve student comments as well. And you can also hide the instructions by clicking that button right there. So these are a great way to get SEL questions embedded in your lesson. I used to start all of my lessons with an SEL warm-up, how are you feeling today, and allowing the students to respond with any combination of text, image, or GIF. You can control what kind of responses that your students have. And again, you can control what your students can see. So if you want them to see names, you can go ahead and turn this on. Or if you don't want them to see each other's names, which for an SEL question, I usually turn this off and I just address the students and I say, oh, this student is happy today. Oh, this student is having a tough time. And then I would use this data to follow up with the students at a later time. Nearpod has an Immersive Reader function built into it. So what that looks like is in the upper left corner, if I click on the Immersive Reader, it's going to open up like this. And this is the student view on Nearpod. Now, if I click play.
Immersive Reader. Nearpod has an Immersive Reader function that will read the text on the slides to your students.
So you can see it reads that to your students. I do recommend that your students have headphones if they are using the Immersive Reader function in here. But I just want to show you a few features of the Immersive Reader. So you can see over here on the student end, they do have to do this because this is their settings. You can't set this as a teacher, but they can change the text size. They can increase spacing, which I've already done, and you can see what happens if I don't increase the spacing. They can change the font, and they can also make it so that it has a higher contrast as well. If I click on this middle option here, the students can enable syllables. They can also show parts of speech. So if they want to show the nouns, they can go ahead and show the nouns on here. So this is a great way to incorporate this into any reading or literacy as well in your classes. And then if I click on this last function over here, the reading preferences, you can see there's a line focus. So what this does is it focuses in on the line that it's reading to your students. And then there's a 3-line function. This is just highlighting the top 3 lines, and as it's reading to the students, it will move down. One of the best things that I like about Nearpod and the Immersive Reader function in here is its ability to translate into almost any language. So this goes by Google Languages. If I scroll down here and I go to Spanish, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to translate this by document. So now what this does is it puts this into the student's native language. So I can go back to the original and I can switch to Spanish. And when I click play,
Lector inmersivo. Nearpod tiene una función de lector inmersivo que leerá el texto de las diapositivas a sus estudiantes. Lector inmersivo.
You can see that it's reading to the students in their native language. So this is great for English language learners. To exit out of the Immersive Reader, you're going to click on the arrow in the upper left-hand corner. The next thing that I want to show you is I want to show you what live annotations looks like. You can annotate live on Nearpod. So down here, if you look, there's this little pencil right here in the bottom right of your teacher profile. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that annotate. Now watch what happens when I annotate on the teacher profile and how it shows up on the student profile. So I can draw a smiley face and it shows up over here on the student's view as well. I can also change the color of my marker. I can make it bigger. I can also use a highlighter. So if I want to highlight text on here, I can go ahead, I can highlight text. I can also type on my screen. So if there's anything that I missed on my presentation or something that I want to highlight on there, I can. And then this last function right here, this is the eraser. So I'm going to go ahead and make the eraser big because that's usually how I like to use it, and you can see the eraser will erase just like a regular eraser would. Now you can delete everything on the screen. If you click on that trash can, you can click yes, or you can go ahead and you can click on this lock, and what that will do is it will lock down the screen so that you don't accidentally erase anything on the screen. And you can unlock it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close annotate and watch what happens to the student screen when I close annotate. It goes away. So this is what a quiz looks like both on the teacher profile as well as the student profile. I usually introduce this to my students and I tell them, hey, this is a quiz. I never use this as a summative assessment or a graded assessment. I kind of use it as like a formative check-in. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start this activity just so that you can see what it looks like on both the student view and the teacher profile. So here on the teacher profile, I can see that my student has not submitted anything yet. But as that student goes through and submits things, you'll be able to see over here on the teacher profile whether they got it right or whether they got it wrong and how quickly they are moving through here. One of the great things that I like about this is on the quizzes, you can put a timer up here, which is great for student pacing. Also notice that I'm able to insert images on here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click submit. So on the teacher side, I can see which ones they got right, which ones they got wrong. And then I can go ahead and I can push this out and it's going to share it with the students. It's only going to show the students their view. So it's only going to show them what they got right and what they got wrong. So this is great for a brain break, or if you're teaching a language. I like to put things in English and then in Spanish. You can put images. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like. I started this on the teacher side, and on the student side, I'm going to go through and I'm going to solve for these. Again, I use these a lot for brain breaks. For the teacher, it's going to show the teacher how many times that student tried to match. So again, I just use these for brain breaks for the students. So this is a draw it activity. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. Again, notice where I can add timers. I always add a timer in here. I'm going to go ahead and start this activity so that you can see what it looks like. So here I'm asking the students to circle the focal point in the picture using the red marker. And then I explain what the focal point is. So the students are going to come down here, and just like on our annotate screen, they're going to choose the marker, and then they're going to draw on the screen. Now watch what happens on the teacher panel over here. You can see the in progress. So even if they don't click submit, you can still see what the students are doing. Another benefit to using a timer is once that timer runs out, it will automatically submit what the students have drawn on the screen here. And I'm going to go ahead and click submit here. So now I have my student submission. I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and I want to share this out with the class. So I'm going to go ahead and click share. Notice on the student side, there is no name posted. So I have the names hidden. So this is awesome because it gets those quiet students, it gives them a voice in your class. Nearpod also has an interactive video feature where teachers can create interactive videos like Edpuzzle, where you can embed questions for checks for understanding throughout the video that students need to answer in order to continue watching the video. Just a warning, if the video is blocked on YouTube, it will not work on Nearpod either. Teachers should email John Terlecki, Joe Kite, or Crystal Samuels to review the video for content. If the teachers are doing a live lesson in Nearpod, they can show the video from the teacher's projector, TV, or interactive board. If the video is not blocked on YouTube, it should work as both student-paced and as a live lesson that students can view the video on their Chromebooks without issues. So I want to show you what the drag and drop feature looks like. So it's very similar to the Draw It board, where as the teacher, you can go ahead and you can see who is started and who you're still waiting for to answer any questions on here. So what the students are going to do is they are simply going to take from over here and they're going to drop over here on their board. And just like in the Draw It, you can see the students' live answers as they're responding on their boards. Now the students can also draw on these boards as well. So they have the crown option, they have the highlighter option, they have an eraser, they have an add text, they can even add images, and they can add videos to these as well. And then in the lower right corner, they're going to click submit. And once their answer is submitted, you'll see that the teacher screen turns green, and the teacher can now click on this and share it with the class if they would like. So this is an open-ended question. So usually what I do is I read the question to my students, I give them think time, and then I go ahead and I click the start the activity button. You'll notice that there is a timer. The students can type their responses in here. Now the teachers won't see their responses until they click submit or until that timer runs out. Once that timer runs out, it will automatically submit for the students. I usually give the students a warning. I usually tell them when there's a minute left, and then I tell them when there's 30 seconds left, and I let the students know that even when there's 30 seconds left, if they don't click that submit button in the lower right corner, it will automatically submit for them. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit here so that you can see what it looks like on the teacher view. You can see the student responses over here, and then you have the option to share that out with the students as well. The last thing that I want to show you is time to climb. So this is one of my favorite activities on Nearpod, and you can see they always come out with these super creative themes on here, and I'm always so excited when new themes come out. I'm going to go ahead and choose this sports theme. This is kind of like Kahoot, if you will, but it's built into Nearpod, and I used to end every single lesson with a time to climb because my students just loved it so much. You can randomize the answers, you can pause the game in between questions for discussion, and you can also play the sound on all student devices. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, although the sound's still going to play because I have my teacher panel up, but I would usually turn that off, especially if I was in a classroom and the students didn't have headphones on. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Now, once I click continue, so I've chosen my theme, I've configured all of my things on there, the students are going to get this screen here where they get to choose their character. And there's a lot of different cute little characters to choose from. So they can go ahead and they can scroll through here. And then they're going to click Join Game. Now, the thing is that they do have to choose a character before they click Join Game or before you click Start Game, because you can start the game before they choose a character and then they won't be able to answer those questions until they choose a character. So I always let my students know you have 30 seconds, make sure that you choose your character and click that Join Game in the lower right corner, and then I would give them a countdown from there. You have 20 seconds, you have 10 seconds, just so that they choose the character and they get started. So I'm going to go ahead and click Start Game here. And the students are going to respond to the questions on here. All the students simply have to do is click on the answer and it will pop up on the screen. You can, from the teacher panel, you can see how many they have right, you can see what the class performance is, and you're also able to see the full question on here as well. So you can see I have this automatically moving throughout. I'm going to go ahead and get an answer wrong so that you can see what that looks like, and it tells them what the correct answer is. And again, you can see your class performance at a glance, and you can see who's on the leaderboard. On the teacher panel, it will tell you all of your leaders, so it'll rank all of your students on here. On the student panel, it will only give them the top 3. This is where it got super competitive in my class. My students absolutely loved this, and they would always compete to be first with this.